there. So for today's video, still kind of staying along the theme of sharing a little bit about our thoughts and feelings on certain subjects this week. We're gonna look back. Phoebe has a lot to say. It's not even Phoebe. Chickens, which ties into our week. But no, we're gonna look back at a conversation we had on our drive to go get the cows last weekend. I guess the weekend before now. 2 weekends ago. And our views, I suppose, on the importance of sustainability.
Yeah, sustainability and homesteading, small farming, whatever you want to call it, which will be another thing we'll talk about. But this is, I guess, our view on the importance of sustainability and what that actually practically looks like, or how that can play out on a homestead, small farm, whatever you want to call it, which may be a little different from, I don't know, other more mainstream views towards homesteading. But anyways, hopefully you find this at least entertaining, if nothing else. It's a bit of a rant, but anyways, see what you think.
So deep discussion has started. Chris has started a very interesting topic on how this movement in homesteading, if we could call it homesteading, self-sufficiency
or whatever, growing your own food,
has happened before, and he's in his time of doing this. There's been ups and downs, right?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it in the Hickorycroft video, but it's an interesting phenomenon because I started back in 2008, and that was kind of in the middle of.
You just watched the road.
That's kind of in the middle, or sorry, towards the end. I came into it on the heels of a big, I don't know, push that people wanted to grow their own food, raise
So this
their
is
own poultry.
roughly 10, 12 years ago was the first one that you experienced.
Yeah, and I know it wasn't, there was ones before that too, definitely. Sort of since that time, there's been these little ups and downs where, for various reasons, people seem to kind of get really interested in it, and then the interest goes away, and then they get interested in it again, the interest goes away. And the last time I mentioned it, but the chickens was, in that time, I would even go so far as to say there's been entire breeds that have been sort of negatively affected by that.
Well, they're almost wiped out because they're...
Every time it wanes, they suffer a lot. But even on the gardening side, it's really quite fascinating because I don't know, for us, we just keep gardening. Is it always the most economical way to spend your time? Maybe not, but there definitely seems to be, when food prices start to change, or there's like that little bit of instability, people kind of gravitate towards it, which is good. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but definitely with the goings on of 2020, there was a much stronger.
Well, and with every wave, there's a little bit higher percentage that sticks with it, which is good.
Well, that's the fantastic part, because I think that's really, without getting too philosophical, that's what...
You too philosophical?
But yeah, more people sticking with it, whether it's gardening or just trying to produce something edible on their own, is really what needs to happen. We talk about loss of diversity on small farms and such. You have fewer small farms, so it's kind of like a natural law in a way. If you don't have the habitat, you don't have those things.
No.
And heritage tomato varieties and you know, the list goes on. Any kind of heritage vegetable and livestock, and even some of the more mainstream dual-purpose stuff, that basically anything that's not used for commercial production, that's the niche. And the more people you have doing that, the better those things do.
I think the kind of take-home message too to people is that if you're going down those lines of doing those things, you need to be conscious of the impact you can have on those.
Well, and sort of longer term
Conscious
goals.
or conscientious?
Both.
Yeah.
Both, I think. We were listening to CBC on the way down too, and it was a different
I told you we were going to be listening to CBC.
Different topic, but it was talking about like having a vision longer out. yeah, vision can always be a little bit of a wishy-washy thing to say, but it's kind of true. Like, where are you planning to go with something? Just having that vision of like, what are you hoping to achieve? And also realizing that you're going to want to be flexible and you're not going to be able to achieve everything you set out to do. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's not a measure of failure by any means, but you know,
better to have tried than failed than never try at all.
Well, yes, but I would say it's even better to have tried something with a little bit of forethought as to where you're wanting to go with it. And if you failed, then you can bring some pretty meaningful conclusions out of it. And if you succeed, that's just slingshotting you that much further. I guess a prime example that I really like, because I think it's a really good one, is tomatoes. Tomatoes easily fall in the realm of anybody can be somewhat self-sufficient with tomatoes. Now, it depends how many you want to grow, etc. But tomatoes are really easy to grow. They're very productive. They don't cost a lot to buy plants or purchase seeds. But they're also extremely easy to save seeds from and keep varieties. So if you like something, you get that going indefinitely. So it's kind of this, if you start out on year one, you've never done a garden before, and you kind of think about, I'd like to grow tomatoes, and I'd like to have, even if you don't know breeds, a couple different kinds and do a couple different purposes. Go that extra step and think, oh, this is my suggestion, to go that extra step and think, well, how can I keep it going? Rather than buying like
20 different kinds
of tomatoes and kind of sticking them all together and then
yeah, but too much cross-pollination.
Yeah, because, you know, you don't really want a cherry tomato crossing with a paste tomato crossing with a whatever, if they've got those specific purposes. That's just my opinion.
Well, and like, what's the distance? Tomatoes only need to be 3 meters apart, so
that's really
clustering a few groups in, allows you to keep sustainable seeds.
But it's also, it's one of those skill sets, right? Because growing the food isn't the only part of it. And I think this chicken is a good example of this. If you want eggs, you know, one option is to just buy chickens that are ready to lay and then get rid of those chickens and buy new ones. Nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it's not really sustainable. So if food security and sustainability was what your goal was, that was what your purpose of why you were doing it, it's not really giving you that. Now it's still giving you a better product because you're growing it yourself, but again, that goes back to that little bit longer vision. You know, could I set it up in such a way that maybe I do breed?
Yeah, and selecting a breed that you know will sit their own babies and
or whatever goals you want. If you want the breed that's going to lay you the most eggs in the shortest amount of time, least amount of space, etc. There's nothing wrong with that, but just kind of thinking like, how am I going to keep it going?
Yeah. We're very big, in case you haven't figured it out, we're very big on developing ways to not be dependent on others.
Well, and a good example this year for us was our chickens.
Yes.
To keep on the chicken topic, because with this with this big spike in people wanting to grow their own food, like chickens were just flying off. Any available chickens in the spring were gone. Like they didn't even have to be a breed; it just had to be a chicken. And you know, talking to people who sold ready-to-lay pullets or you know, ordered them in from bigger producers and that sort of stuff to resell, which is nothing but, you know, your average. They were getting bombarded with people who were like, well, when can I expect more? When can I expect more? And it's like, well, chicken takes X amount of time,
5 or
to get
6
to the
months,
ready-to-lay point. So it's not a snap my fingers and I have what I need to be sustainable. Like, all of this stuff takes time. You need to get good at growing it. You need to get good at harvesting it. You need to get good at selection. You need to get good at breeding, propagating, saving seeds, whatever that is. Once you kind of get to that point, you'll never achieve perfection, and that's fine. But once you get to that point, you're probably about as sustainable as you're ever going to be. Which, for a lot of people, that's the motivation, right?
Yeah. Sustainability.
There's a rant for it.
That's our rant for the drive down.
basically that's the end of our little driving rant. It's kind of a brief introduction or overview of sort of what we feel sustainability looks like, or at least one aspect of sustainability that sustainability, you can go as far down the rabbit hole as you want, but I guess this is our view of taking it a little bit further than sort of the put and take sort of method of farming, which we do have a little thought on that too, which will be in a future video.
Definitely thank you very much to all our subscribers so far. We passed 130 this week. Awesome in our books, which is great. So thank you very much to you all. Thank you. I wanted to mention as well, don't forget to check out our fall giveaway video, which we'll link above, and we'll put the link below. Basically, when we hit 200 subscribers, we're giving away some, well, watch the video.
It's a good giveaway.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks very much and have a great day, and we'll be back tomorrow.